Turned out Diana knew more than John expected, and it was going to take more than salt in the eyes to get Heston back. Pulling up to the ramshackle house off a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, the location told John all he needed to know about their intentions. The second John's tires hit the scraggly grass in the front yard, Flunky 3 stepped off the rickety porch. It had to be 3, because his nose was set in a makeshift splint with something packed up his nose. By the time John put the truck in park, 3 had a sawed-off shotgun leveled his way. It was a greeting John was distantly familiar with. "Get out of the truck," 3 barked, "and keep your hands where I can see them." John did as he was instructed, but stayed by his truck. He'd canted it when he'd parked, to keep as much metal as possible between him and 3's buckshot. "Lace your fingers on your head, come around the truck, turn around, then start walking backwards to me." They were taking him all serious-like, and this was more organized than last night. An echo of old instinct was prodding the back of his mind, telling him to be wary. "I'm good right here until you show me the kid's still alive." Tightening his grip on the shotgun, 3 settled the butt deeper into the pocket of his shoulder and rested his cheek on the stock. "Do what I say, or the kid dies." A true sawed-off's range wasn't more than 15 to 20 yards. John was in that range, but not so close he couldn't drop and take cover. "Do what I say, or I leave." "You never were very good at playing well with others," the Q-hole woman said. Glancing over to where she'd come around the corner of the house, John noted she had no weapons he could see, so he looked back at 3, but kept her in his periphery. "You're too young for me, lady. You must have me mistaken for someone else," John said. "Johnson Graves, former enforcer for Adrian Chase," she said. "Good job. You know my name. Want a cookie?" An ex-boyfriend of Alexandria Walker. Narrowing his eyes, he turned his attention back to her. "Do I get that cookie now, Johnny?" she asked mockingly. Only one person got to call him that, and he could now see the echo of Alexandria's features in the Q-hole woman's face. "Amber, I see you're doing right by Alex's memory by joining the people who killed her." Bunching up her fists, she took a step forward. "You're responsible for her death," Amber spat. He could see one of Quas's eyes on her temple, stretched open so wide blood was trailing down to her chin. "The demon tell you that?" he asked. "He showed me," she countered, lifting her chin in challenge. "Right, 'cause demons never lie." John mostly said it to buy time. There was absolutely no reason for the demon to lie to the kid. Well, other than being a demon, he supposed. John had never been on the Q-hole radar. They hadn't known Alex was his girlfriend when they killed her. In fact, the Q-holes had all but fallen over themselves to turn over the guy who killed her and begged Adrian's forgiveness. Adrian, in turn, had given the guy to John for retribution. The shithead hadn't deserved mercy, but John killed him quick and clean. Alex wouldn't have wanted the guy dead at all, but she wasn't there to ask, so John thought it fitting to take the same privilege from him. John had called in some favors to make sure Amber was put in a good home, and not long after, he left Snakewater for good. "He showed me the truth. Chase hired the Q-holes to kill her. Said she was too good of an influence on you," she choked out, tears spilling down her face to mix with the blood. "It's just as much your fault as Chase's." Nothing was adding up. Oh, John wouldn't put it past Adrian to do that. But why was all this happening now? It had been almost 20 years since Alex died. What had changed? John shook his head. It was time to move things along. "Well, that does sound like some bullshit Adrian would get up to," John agreed, reaching up to rub the back of his head. A sharp crack sounded, and 3 stumbled as his knee exploded, with his scream following shortly after. Just before John ducked behind his truck, Quas's eye jerked to something on John's left, then back to John. With the truck between him and the eye, he threw himself into a roll in that direction, taking out either Flunky 1 or 2 in the process. The ping of a ricochet off his truck whizzed by his head. Grappling with man, John tried to get eyes on the weapon. When he couldn't, and another shot didn't happen, He worked on subduing the guy. When John finally got sight of his face, there was a homemade eye patch and tons of bandages. Flunky One then. One had managed to get the dominant position and was pushing down with all his strength to get at John's throat, with his hands around One's wrists, trying to keep him from doing just that. John bucked his hips, pulling One's hands overhead and rolling to his side. The execution wasn't pretty, but it was effective enough. Landing on John's left, One let out a choked scream of pain, his hands flying to touch his face, but stopping short. John got up into a kneeling position and punched as hard as he could at One's sternum, forcing all the air from his lungs. Flunky 1 and 3 down. Something hard pressed into the back of John's head. Don't move. Flunky 2 to go, or delivery, John supposed, since he saved John the trouble of looking for him. I was just thinking about you. Shut up. Lace your fingers behind your head, and another crack rang out. The barrel of 2's gun slid off the back of John's head a hair before 2 pulled the trigger. Another scream, followed by 2 falling to the ground, squirming and clutching his shoulder. Damn that woman, John cursed. Did she have to wait until the barrel was on my head before shooting him? Reaching out to grab 2's gun, his hand froze over the weapon when a voice spoke from the road he drove in on. It really is so difficult to find good help these days, isn't it? Standing in the middle of the dirt road, Adrian Chase couldn't have looked more out of place if he tried. The only thing sharper than his dark blue, three-piece suit was his smile, showing off teeth as white as his button-up shirt. He had slicked back, dark hair, and darker eyes. Instinctively, John reached for the gun. John, Adrian admonished, curling a finger toward himself. Zipping out of John's reach, the gun clattered to a halt halfway to Adrian. John grunted. It was worth a shot. Adrian's laugh was rich and throaty, and John always thought a man that slimy shouldn't be allowed to have a laugh like that. Just so. Now, tell your lady friend to come down, or I hit this button and her brother dies, he said, taking a remote from his pocket. Or you could let him go. I'm who you want, John countered. I don't think I will. You have this nasty disregard for your own life and mine, and I need the boy for leverage to make sure you behave while we talk. We talk, they walk, John said firmly. Adrian's smile grew and almost reached his eyes. Agreed. It wasn't going to be that easy. It never was with Adrian, but it was all John had. Agreed. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the story and want to hear more, don't forget to have your sniper take out the subscribe button while you grapple with the notification bell. I hope you all have a great rest of your day or night. See you later.